bitch.
Is there anybody out there on a Friday afternoon now? It is 12:01 in PM, not AM, right? I get those mixed up. So, yeah. So here we are, guys. What's going on? Tom and Vicky doing a little surprise show here. And Vic, I knew this moment was coming for days, and I still couldn't think of anything clever to say to open the show up. So,
oh wow! Well,
I'm gonna kick it over to you now for that.
Well, you started that out inadvertently, perhaps quoting a Pink Floyd lyric. Is there anybody out there?
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Unplanned.
Well, I did have a lyric on my mind. For some reason, I have the opening line to Proud Mary stuck in my head, and left a good job in the city.
Oh,
so I don't know why. I did hear that song actually today. So
okay. Well, yeah, this is kind of weird. It's been a long time no see, stranger.
I know. Hey, how have you been doing?
Pretty good. Do you want to hear my traumatic spider story?
Oh, you got a traumatic spider story. I do want to hear that.
Dude.
Wait a second. Does it come with pictures? Warn me, because I'm going to close my eyes.
I do have a picture, but I didn't send it to Katie.
Okay.
So I'm not one of these people that like freaks out over spiders. Like I'll find them in the house. And in fact, I'm the type where I'll take the cup and I'll stick it over them and I'll put the paper underneath and I'll put them outside. Like I'm not like jumping on the couch. Like I don't do the whole Tom Cruise thing. Right. So anyway, I got home the other day and I'm locking my door and it was so weird. It was like the second I walked in, I just looked down and saw it. Like it was almost like my brain knew it was there. I looked down and I saw the biggest spider that I've ever seen, like in real life. And I'm not talking daddy long leggers where it's big, but it's super small. It was like bigger than the palm of my hand. And I mean, I have a small hand, so like it might have been as big.
That's big for spiders.
But like the body, the inside body, it had two parts, but it was probably the size of like, one of those dollar coins. Like, I mean, and it was huge, hairy, black. And for some reason, it only had 7 legs. I can't explain that. But the legs weren't just like, they were thick black, like they were thick. I'm just staring at the thing, wondering like, okay, that's too big to like catch and release. And it basically, let me tell you, I can now come up with 2 good reasons why everyone should own a copy of Gary Wayne's Genesis 6 Conspiracy. I took a stack of books.
That's a big book.
Put it all up in a Walmart bag because I didn't want to ruin my books, and I just had to do a right. And it took three drops to kill this thing. It was like big as a mouse, and now that I know creatures that large are roaming around here, I might be having second thoughts about living in the woods.
Yeah. How did you sleep that night?
I went to bed like this.
Oh wow, that's
crazy.
I have a nature story, but it's not that dramatic. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Throughtheblack.com is the website. Guys, when you give us a thumbs up, when you share our videos, that helps us out. We appreciate it. We have been on a little bit of a break. Just lots of stuff going on, family-wise, and things like that. So we've been trying to focus on that, working on some stuff behind the scenes, getting ready for the conference that's coming up, the Go Therefore conference. Vic, you and I are going to be there. It's down in Brookville, Ohio. So there is the poster for the conference, July 28th and 29th. It's going to be a super fun, cool time of learning, training, fellowship, all that stuff. Pastor Mike, L.A. Marzulli, Derek and Sharon are going to be there. Dr. Michael Legg, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, David Heavener, Greg Reed, and it's going to be Coach Dave, Pastor Casper, Kenny C., and we got David Paxson. Vic, you're down there. and Randy Conway, and I cannot see the other person that's on your list. I should give them. Let's see if we can. That's going to be Nathan Branham. Okay, yeah. So you can register. Hey, keep that up there. It says register in person and for the live stream. Go thereforeconference.com, guys. So raise your hand if you're going to the Go Therefore conference. That's me. Just wondering. Hey, and I'm seeing all the hellos and highs in the chat. Hi, everybody. So cool to see you guys, even though we're not seeing you guys. You're seeing us. So cool for you guys to see us. So, Vic, one of my dreams came true this last week. Yeah. And you know about this dream. I wanted a bird feeder. And a certain holiday came up that applies to me, called Father's Day. And lo and behold, hey, I got a bird feeder and some bird seed.
Wow.
Some good bird seed. According to the bag, it's very nutritional. So I got super excited. Of course, Father's Day was Sunday. And then Monday, I got to, put this. I didn't have any place to hang it. So I had to go out and get a place to hang the bird feeder. Well, that's out my office window there. But here's the problem. There were no birds for a couple days.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is going on? So I figured out what to do. I put up a sign.
What?
Yeah. Free bird seed. And I am not kidding you. And hey, my daughter laughed at me, but she's not laughing now because look right there. Right shortly after I put up that sign, we have some customers. Okay. And I shouldn't say customers. I mean, the bird seed, the bird food is free. And from time to time, yeah, we get some birds that land up there. And, I mean, there are different times of day. I saw a really pretty red cardinal just having an after dinner snack last night. And so that has brought a little bit of joy into my life.
So you think the birds weren't coming initially because they thought that they had to pay for the bird seed?
Well, I don't know what goes through a bird's mind.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But apparently they flock to free the same way a human does.
Yes. Yeah. You know, and my wife was making fun of me. She was like, birds can't read. I was like, have you ever heard birds have really good eyes? How do they see the worm, down in the, or an eagle? You ever heard the term eagle eye? They can see good, I think.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I would think that as a librarian, she would really appreciate your efforts to educate and spur on these birds towards reading and getting their education.
So I did have an idea of canvassing the neighborhood and just sending people back, or even because I see a lot of birds in the backyard, but they may not know about. We're going to put a sign back there that points them to the front yard.
Yeah, with an arrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So super cool, folks. Yeah. I that's where I'm at in my life, right? Is
bird watching.
Bird feeders and birds. So
wow.
Yeah. But so anyway, Vic, we've been going for a while. Lots of crazy stuff going on. We got aliens in Las Vegas. We got missing submarines. And the subs, I don't think it's missing anymore. We've got what else?
Fake food.
Yeah. All this crazy stuff going on. And I don't even know where to begin with these things. Of course, we're preaching to the choir here when we bring up this stuff. Our listeners are very aware. Matter of fact, our listeners are sometimes the people that send us the stories. So, and we appreciate that. Keep them coming, by the way, because we don't know it all. But anyway, Vic, I mean, I don't know. Where should we get started? You were talking about a story last night about chicken. Like, this is food. What's going on with this?
Yeah. So in food and beverage news, actually here's my favorite one, and we didn't even talk about this one yesterday.
Speaking of birds, that was a
Speaking
good
of birds,
segue. Yeah.
speaking of food and beverages, I just got a text this morning that Anheuser-Busch has now lost $19 billion in sales.
Do you think they care?
I don't know if they're being, you know, undergirded by someone else's wealth. They probably don't care.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder what the spokesperson who caused all this is thinking. Like, I wonder if that's an ego trip or if it's an ego diffuser to know that, like, hey, $19 billion worth of people don't like me. I'm curious what that would be.
I thought about the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because we've seen lots of boycotts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this, for some reason, this seems to be the one that's really catching, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there are many options out there for people who are consume alcohol. Okay, and I think maybe that made it easy for them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about beer except for what I've noticed over the last 10 or so years is all of this like localized beer has popped up and you see it everywhere, and it's very it's very hip, or it's very, it's all about the branding, right? And you see
Yeah.
all of these micro breweries everywhere. So everybody kind of I think everybody's like saying, okay, I want to go to local options. I don't know if it's hurt this company or not, 19 billion, but I mean, it's sent a message, I hope, to some other companies, of course, some department stores that are doing some weird things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, matter of fact, the number one trending song in the country was a song called Boycott Target. Did you hear that?
No,
Yeah,
I hadn't heard
it's
of
a
that.
hip hop song, and it went to number one.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, I saw a little bit about this. I actually saw the song, but Target is targeting your kids. That was like one of the catchphrases in the song. So anyway, of course, until we get our own platform, folks, or whatever, we got to be careful about what we mention and how we talk about it. But you guys get the picture. I don't know that these companies really care about the loss. I think they care more about the message. And when Vic, so specifically about Target, that store actually came from Minnesota, and it has deep roots in left-hand politics, right?
Yes, it does.
So
So
you know about that.
I do. So for many, many, many years, one of the huge department stores, like comparable to Macy's, Penny's, Sears, all that. If you went to a mall in Minnesota, you know how you have the 4 department stores on each end. There was always a department store named Dayton's, and Dayton's was high end. It was comparable to Macy's. And in fact, many now of the Dayton's in Minnesota are Macy's. Macy's bought them out. What happened there? So the Dayton family, and Mark Dayton was, of course, one of the senators from Minnesota, who pretty much purchased his way there because of his family's wealth. And that was the reason why the Dayton's department store franchise got sold to Macy's, is because he was funding his campaign. But the Dayton family owned Dayton's and Target. And so if you had a Dayton's credit card, you could use it at Target. Like, you could charge stuff at Target on your Dayton's credit card. So yeah, there's a strong affiliation with the Dayton family. I don't know currently if the Daytons still have stock or any financial benefit in the Target stores, but their origins were extremely liberal.
I would like to see an in-depth investigation breakdown. Somebody could probably even make a documentary on Target, because this store, it's really weird. It's almost like a government experiment. It doesn't make any sense why it's in business, and they just something's weird about it. I don't know. I never shopped there. I remember when I lived in Tennessee for a while, they had Targets down there, and it was different enough. But I've always been a Walmart guy. In Ohio, we have a store called Meijer. You know, and it's so frustrating, especially this time of year, right? This very special month. We see all of these companies come out and show their colors, so to speak, literally. And I don't want to support that just because of the specifically the targeting of children, pun intended, so it's just kind of frustrating. It makes us want to be more self-sufficient, to move, further away, and things like this. So, and I know everybody can kind of listen to this. And that's another thing. Target has been connected to Planned Parenthood. I knew this 25 years ago. I saw some stories on this. Okay, these guys are giving money to Planned Parenthood. That's enough for me to not shop there. And I have shopped there, but very, very little, so they really don't have anything that I want. And it's almost impossible to avoid, to boycott all the companies that are out there, because you don't even know sometimes, the connections of these companies. So anyway, Vic, thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, growing up in Minnesota, Target was kind of like the staple of growing up. And so I went there quite a bit. And, I have a couple little inside scoops on it. I had two friends who were employed for at the Target headquarters, which is like their big building in downtown Minneapolis. And I'll tell you that both of these friends had horrible, horrible experiences, and both of them were Christians. And so what I would say is, and this is, I'm talking 15 years ago. This is not recent. Both of these friends, if you were a born again Christian trying to work a corporate job at corporate HQ at Target in Minneapolis, you were not well received. And both of them, I think both of them ended up getting fired, actually. So anyway, that's kind of a little inside scoop. But I noticed a shift in Target around the turn of the century. Like in the 80s and 90s, if you wanted to go and buy like cute women's clothing, like sweet, cute, feminine, pretty dresses, whatever, you could go to Target and they had super, super cute stuff. And at some point, I always just chalked it off to, I think that they found a different buyer, and the name brands that they had always had kind of went away and the new ones came in, and the clothing became just really ugly. The colors were ugly colors, and I couldn't find clothes anymore. So I stopped shopping there just because they didn't have anything cute. But there was definitely like this shift there from beauty to kind of, it was almost like it wasn't androgynous, that wasn't turning like where the female clothing was, androgynous. It just wasn't pretty or feminine anymore. And the last straw for me was when Coach Dave he put out that video. I can't remember if that was 16, 17, 18. I can't remember what year that was, but that's kind of where I put my foot down. And if you're in Minnesota, you've been born and raised in Minnesota, and you decide to boycott Target, it's tough. You have to go out of your way, because anytime you're out with your friends, let's go to Target. So like I would be stuck like walking through Target with my friends as they were buying all their stuff, and you'd see all this cute stuff, and I refused to purchase anything. So they've definitely had a cultural shift, and it's interesting to me how the values of a company can show on the sales floor, because even before they were doing this really, really drastic stuff that they're doing now, there was a slight shift in change where they were starting to lose, I think, focus on who their market was. Midwestern shoppers and some of just like the stuff that was available. It was, I don't know. All I can say is it went from like a place where everything you needed and wanted was there to showing up and everything was just kind of ugly and utilitarian, and the beauty was kind of taken out of it. I don't know if that makes any sense. But
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, there's been a Target boycott going on for years. There's a radio network called American Family Network, and I hear ads when I listen to that station. I hear ads on a regular basis of them talking about an ongoing, Target boycott because of the bathroom situation that came out a few years ago. I mean, just what a crazy thing to take a stand on. It's just insane. Anyway, that's been going on, and their stock has been, from what I understand, been going down for years. There is a large segment of the population that will not shop there anymore because of this. And you would think that they would turn it around. I just don't know how they can survive. But anyway, just, wondering what you guys think about this, or thoughts or inside information. I wonder if there's any Illuminati connections, like in Ohio, we have this guy named Wexler that's connected to Epstein, right? Jeffrey Epstein, and he owned all of the I forget what store he owned. I know he had some ownership or connected to Victoria's Secrets, but there was several different stores that this guy was connected to, right? And I think they even would use that angle to try to recruit women. Jeffrey Epstein saying, I want to recruit you for Victoria's Secret model or whatever. So, I wonder if there's any kind of connections like that, like legitimate connections, not so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we know that these guys love the murder of babies. They've been supporting Planned Parenthood for years and years, and abortion. So,
yeah.
Right? And if there's one reason not to shop there, they pay for their employees' abortions. So,
yikes. Well, in related department store conglomerate news, it's also in the news that heirs of Sam Walton, and that's heirs with an H, not an E, are selling off vast amounts of their stock, their shares.
Never a good sign. Have you heard any reason for that? I don't know. That's got me curious. I haven't had time to dig into it.
I haven't had time to dig into it either. I just heard about it yesterday. And the thing is if you go online, no one's going to tell you the real reason they're probably doing it. Why the heirs of Sam Walton would want to get rid of that wealth potential is beyond me. I'm trying to just see if I can quickly see what the official story is. So no, I don't know why, Tom, but it's noticeable. A noticeable amount has been sold off that it made the news. Why are the Walton heirs offloading Walmart shares?
Yeah.
The Walton family has sold a significant chunk of Walmart shares this month. We will take a closer look at this transaction of key insiders in this article. So, yeah. I don't know. And I'm sure all the little FEMA camps rumors are going to start up again with this one.
Yeah. And one of the things I was trying to say a minute ago is that it pretty much doesn't matter what you boycott. I think the reason that Target is being singled out is because they made such a strong stand.
Yeah.
Okay. And similar things are going on at other places. Okay.
Yeah.
But at least they're not, planting their flag on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we could apply that to so many different things, companies, products. Okay. There's products that do all of these similar things, and we may not know about it, but they're not as famous for it. Right. And there's some company, I think of the company Ben and Jerry's. Okay. Like, dude, I don't know. I just know some people that no matter what they do, they can't please me. They shop at Target and they eat at Ben and Jerry's, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm so righteous. Like, really, seriously, you know, like,
Oh,
I mean, of all the things you could do, to
I
shop at Target and eat Ben and Jerry's,
I know,
but
but
there's other companies that I have some guilty pleasures where I'm like, okay, go ahead, Vic.
well, I was just going to say it's really hard when you have to virtue signal based on places that you go and places that you shop, because then you find like the one place in a million, and then the Christians go nuts, and but then they end up betraying us too over time. I mean, Chick-fil-A is even kind of going nuts now. And
Mm-hmm.
I was never one of these like Chick-fil-A champions who, I mean, they never really had them in Minnesota until almost the point where after I had moved. So it wasn't like a big thing where I lived. But this whole concept that there's some sort of business that we can support that's righteous, because even if you go to a place like Chick-fil-A, we don't know who's distributing all their potatoes for their fries and all. We don't know. There's no way to micromanage every aspect of our food distribution. And so I think that if we were really going to be consistent with this theory that we're not going to support anybody who gives money to abortion or anything, we would have to just live buck naked in a field and drink rainwater and eat the grass,
Right. And Harry says Kellogg's is bad too. Yeah, that's another example of a company that puts all over their products, this agenda. So I just I'm like, come on, guys, just keep your mouth shut so I can, enjoy this or enjoy that or just, whatever. But
Right.
yeah, they won't do it. So
yeah,
and hey, I agree with what Digital Warrior Bride says. Pray before eating. Yeah, I pray.
Yes.
Bless our food, God. I don't know where it came from or how it got here. My wife and I talk about, okay, we need to make some adjustments in our diets, and we make adjustments over here and then we slip over there. It's like impossible to eat healthy, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, ironically, I just put an article up on Real Dark News this week, and it was specifically about that. And that's the way that we should be praying over our food now that food is being weaponized against us. And it's based off of this idea that everything that's received with thanksgiving can be sanctified by God. And so I think the article is just encouraging people to go beyond like, thank you for this day and for this food and Jesus, and they would pray amen, and then like slamming it down, right? But to pray very intentionally. And it was kind of cool because I was out with a friend this week, and we had went out for lunch, and she prayed and blessed the food, and she was doing the same exact thing. So I think the Spirit of God is kind of giving this concept to a lot of people, but just praying very specifically over that the food would not only be nourishment, but if there is anything toxic or poisonous in the food, that God would expel that from the body. And Michael Lake recently told me that by the time your food hits the table, it's been cursed by at least X number of witches and warlocks. And I can't remember if he said 42 or 72. But basically, we don't have to be afraid of that. We don't have to be afraid of our food. We don't have to be afraid of, little guys in black nail polish doing little sacred rites. This is as old as time. I mean, Paul addressed this in, I don't think it was Corinthians. I can't remember what book it's in, but the new converts weren't eating the meat anymore because they knew that the meat markets, that all the meat was being sacrificed to idols and prayed over. So this has been going on since the 1st and 2nd century, probably before. And I keep telling my dad, I'm not going to be afraid of my food. God gave it to us for our nourishment, and I'm not going to go to Taco Bell every day and drink a 6-pack of Mountain Dew and be stupid. But if I make a meatloaf and a side of carrots and some rice, I'm not going to let the nocebo effect kick in where I do become sick because I'm scared to death of my food. So
that sounds good, man. I'm kind of hungry right now. Meatloaf Stew sounds good. Vic, no, good point. So, this question actually came up a few weeks ago. I was talking to somebody and they asked me, they brought up this water called liquid death. Okay. And so that's a very specific thing. And I'll mention that. I don't know, it was over a year ago now. They came out with some kind of an ad campaign where they had a witch or a Satanist or something in their warehouse doing a curse over their products. Yeah, I'm not going to drink that. Okay. Like if you're admitting that this is what you're doing and this is, what you stand for, like what, again, who in the world would think that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Am I that out of touch? Right?
Yeah.
So I like what you just said. We pray over this. We don't know where it's come from, and I didn't realize that Michael Lake had said that. But for me, like products like Liquid Death are just like out of the question. I'm like, okay, you're admitting that you are, you're showing the video of the actual curse.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna opt out of that. So, and I think it's smart to do that because if we know about it and then we partake in it, and I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think I could drink a can of that or a case of that and be fine, but I don't want to give the enemy any opportunities when I
Right.
know that that's been done, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. If I 100% know someone's up to something, I'm going to avoid it. But it's hard because I think that this is going on a lot and we don't know it. And that's where it gets tricky. Now, one thing that I do, especially when I'm in like organic grocery stores, because there's a lot of like new agey kind of stuff in those places. So I try to like look over a product, and if there's some weird like goofy symbol on it, or you know what I'm talking about. There's some
Yeah.
products where there's tons of like new age advertising and there's phrases on it and like yoga pose kind of like pose it like
Hmm.
pictures. And I tend to avoid that kind of stuff just because I don't know if they're doing anything spiritual surrounding the product. I wrote an article for Real Dark News a year or two ago called Real Dark Chocolate, and it's an actual chocolate company, and it's like really expensive chocolate. It's not like the crap you buy in the grocery store, but the website, at least at that time, flat out said that they infuse certain frequencies into it, and there's things that they're intentionally doing over it to interact with your soul. And I mean, it got really, they blatantly were saying what they were doing. And so anytime I see a product and I go on the website and there's all of this like new agey stuff associated with it, I don't care what sort of miracle product that is, what kind of cream that is. It's going to make me look 20 years younger, or I'm going to lose 10 pounds overnight, whatever it is. If it has all that sketchy stuff on the packaging, I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's tons of that stuff. Somebody mentioned yogi tea. Yeah, I've seen that tea.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So, and they have some stuff that's supposed to help you sleep and all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Vic, well, did we talk about the chicken yet? I can't remember. Did we start off trying to talk?
No, you brought it up and I went on a vicious tangent.
Okay,
So
here we go.
I got an article here. Yet lab grown chicken is now USDA approved if you can afford it. The jury is still out on how sustainable cultured meat really is. All right. The U.S. Department of Agriculture granted 2 startup companies permission to begin selling cell-cultivated chicken to American consumers, marking a major moment for the global lab-grown meat industry. According to CNBC on Wednesday, Good Meat and Upside Foods have already received their first customer orders, with regulators planning to begin inspecting cultured meat facilities according to the same health codes and standards they apply to standard slaughterhouses and meat processing plants. I want to just see if they say anything here about what it actually is. Okay, here we go. Katie, I scrolled down a couple paragraphs to unlike plant-based meat alternatives. It's under the ad. I don't know if you're seeing the same ad as me. Unlike plant-based meat alternatives, cultured meat is created by injecting animal fat or muscle stem cells into a culture medium, then stimulating the cell growth via a bioreactor. After the process is complete, the final result is a product developers contend is little different from naturally grown and harvested meat. I don't even, Tom, I don't even know what that means. Like the terms that I need to find for me is what's the culture medium, stimulating cell growth via a bioreactor. Okay, what kind of potential radiation or EMF is coming off of a bioreactor? I mean, this doesn't, like, I don't understand. Unless every single chicken on planet Earth died, why are we making alternatives when we still have the real things available to us? Is it cheaper? It's a money thing? Well, of course, here it says if you can afford it. So if it's more expensive, that doesn't even make sense.
Do they know something that we don't?
They know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, are the chickens going to disappear?
I know.
Or does it have something to do with global warming or the environment? That seems to be always at play, right?
Yep. Well, and I want to know, once you start marketing this bioreactor infused cultured chicken meat, are you going to tell me, like, if I go to the grocery store, am I going to know this is your lab chicken as opposed to the real chicken?
I don't know if they've done this yet, but they're trying to pass laws so they don't have to label them that way. So you don't know.
I know. Well, and then, so I've read recently, like, X percentage, and it was something really high. I can't remember the percentage, but it was over 50%. It was a high percentage. X percentage of fast food chicken is tainted. And so then what's the difference between fast food and like a chain restaurant? And how do I know? And then I saw a little video. It was really sad, but it was this video of a lab worker in all of her gear. And it was like this whole like carton of like little baby chicks. And she was taking them two at a time and sticking them in these little things like that would clasp them. And then a little shot would come down and poke them both. And then she'd take them out, and then she'd take two more. So all of the baby chicks, well, I shouldn't say all, apparently, even if you go and buy your own baby chicks and cultivate them and have your own chickens, they're in some lab vaccinating all of them. Again, I don't know all of them, but
dude, Vic, this is depressing a little bit.
I know.
I didn't know we were going to go there.
I know. I know.
So this came up with my friend Rob a few weeks ago, and it's not about chickens, but he recently bought a cow. Okay, not a live cow, but a cow slaughtered. And he went and he talked to the butcher, and he asked him all the questions, right? And like, hey, what about this? What about this? Vaccines, because they're talking about putting the mRNA into the cows now. So he found a place that does none of that. And I would recommend, if you can do it, find your own, butcher, a place, that processes meat that doesn't do any of that stuff. And what went into the cow. So there's all kinds of scandals where they got caught, giving cows hormones to produce more milk. Years ago, that was one of the first videos. I used to play that video all the time. I played it at my church one time, and there was a news team that exposed this story, like at a local affiliate down in Florida somewhere, and they one by one got fired and kicked out of their own, news station. And there were higher ups that had control from this, probably Monsanto or something like that, that were able to put pressure on that local affiliate, that Fox affiliate, and kick all these guys out. So, and yeah, anyway, that story's out there somewhere. But for years, Vic, I used to be, some people don't know this, I used to be a vegetarian. Okay. I was a vegetarian for 7 years. Why? Well, one day I woke up, I just wanted to see how long I could go without eating meat. Apparently 7 years. So seriously, I had no conviction. Like, I just wanted to see, I thought, man, maybe this isn't so healthy because of all the stuff they put in it,
Yeah.
And so, but I used to eat a lot of fake meat. Like, they had this company called Morningstar Farms that made burgers. They were called grillers, right?
Okay.
And I actually still like some of that stuff. Who is the Boca burgers? Man, I think those things are good. I don't know if anybody's, but now I'm wondering what's in them because of what's going on. I think it was a lot of soy, tofu, things like that, right? So, but they had chicken nuggets, Vic. And chicken patty sandwiches, but it was vegetarian chicken. It wasn't really a chicken.
Yeah.
So, and I really like the hot dogs. Yeah. So
Yikes.
they were not real hot dogs.
You know how long I lasted as a vegetarian?
How long?
About 9 hours.
9.
This was
Good
actually
job, Vic.
This was last week. I had a friend tell me, she's like, I'm going on a fruit fast for 3 days. All I'm eating for 3 days is fruit because you can lose like 5 pounds in 3 days or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to try that. So I went and I got all this fruit and I had it for breakfast. I had it for lunch. And by about 5 o'clock, I had this splitting headache and I was super tired and like I wanted to punch somebody. I'm like, Dad. And so we went and got some steak and I was good. I was good after that.
Hey, well, nice try.
I did my best.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yep.
I used to go to McDonald's and order just like a grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. You had to pay full price, but.
Sure. Okay, well, since you brought up McDonald's, have you ever seen one of those videos that talks about mechanically separated chicken?
No.
All right, so guys, if you don't know about this, look on, especially like nuggets, hot dogs, turkey wieners, like anything that's turkey or chicken that's like processed. If the ingredient list says mechanically separated chicken or mechanically separated turkey, you're going to want to put that down. So this is so gross, Tom. They supposedly outlawed it, but like originally this was like the chicken nuggets and how McDonald's used to make the chicken nuggets way back. Is what they do is they take the entire chicken, whole thing, beak, eyeballs, feet, everything, and they put it in a grinder and they grind the whole entire thing up. And they put it through some sort of process until the whole entire thing turns into like this pink toothpaste. And then they put it in the molds and then they dye it white so it doesn't look pink anymore. And like, so it is chicken, but you're getting the intestines and the eyeballs and the beak and like everything. It's disgusting.
Oh.
It's disgusting. And so some of the stuff, like you got to look on like, if you're getting like little TV dinner, chicken nugget TV dinners for your kids or turkey hot dogs or that kind of stuff. If it's turkey or chicken, just check it out. Because if it's mechanically separated.
This is ruining my appetite. Vic.
Yeah. Good.
You know what I'm going to have today for lunch?
Chicken nuggets?
No, a juice. Remember that conversation we had?
Yes. Yeah.
I was inspired and I went and got the stuff to make a juice. So
yeah, absolutely. So I gave up on my fruit fast by way of like doing it all day, every day, because I couldn't do that. But what I've been doing now for 2 weeks is having a massive fruit smoothie for breakfast and then dinner. And I did start to lose weight once I started doing that. So
yeah,
I just couldn't do it all day.
So Vic, moving along here. 45 minutes in. Did you see anything about the aliens in Las Vegas?
I saw headlines. I didn't look into it. So I don't really know the story other than from the headlines that someone like photographed or videoed like an actual non-human entity in their backyard or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they got that. They just gave a testimony that that's what they saw. Apparently, the
Okay.
whole thing was fake. I thought the guy did a pretty good job of, but they must have had it planned out or something, or I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm just saying, hey, we're aware of that story.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing this UFO stuff, though. I mean, it goes from if you talk about this, we're going to suicide you, to now it's on every like news channel out there, and every government official's like, well, yeah, we've known about that, and of course there's UFOs, and I don't know. It's not even like they slow dripped us into it. It was just like overnight. It's true. It's all true.
You know what's weird, and I for a few years I watch, not faithfully, but I actually have been recently, since he's been totally censored, is Tucker Carlson. And here's a guy that seems super rational, right? But once in a while he talks about aliens or UFOs and things like that. So I think that's interesting. Matter of fact, L.A. Marzulli will play Tucker Carlson clips in his presentation.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that you really wouldn't expect that from. And now that he has no, restraints on him, so to speak, he's kind of coming out and just really saying what's on his heart recently. I wonder what people think of Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
But his monologues that he's been doing are just killer, man. They're just like a red pill. And the people that follow him, I don't know if they necessarily are aware of all these things. Maybe they are, because he talks about 9/11 truth. He talks about, a lot of other things.
Yeah.
I wish we could talk about in depth, Vic, the interview, the JFK or the RFK Jr. interview with Joe Rogan. But really, the only thing I want to say about that is go watch it. Okay. If you haven't, it's worth the watch. Man, just very powerful information about a certain type of medication. And I've said this before, Vic, if we were to drop everything we're doing and focus on fighting the murder of babies, that would be a righteous fight. You know what I mean? If we were to drop everything we're doing it through the black and fight GMO foods, I think that would be a righteous fight, And I think the same thing applies when it comes to this special jab medicine. I think that would be a righteous fight if we were to stop doing that. There's so many fights to fight, right? And we all are gifted in different ways, and we all have different callings. But, we kind of cover so many things here, and we really do get into politics maybe more than your average, supernatural spiritual warfare, YouTube channel. Well, we think it's all connected and it's all relevant, when it comes to this stuff. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And the way that it's been uncloaked in the last 15 years is really just proving us right, because we were saying, hey, all this is connected. Remember all of the when we were real young, all of the conspiracy theories about companies like Procter and Gamble.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know what the truth is about that, but we're seeing these connections now, right? With all these different companies. So, but Vic, if I'm missing something, we can always come back to it. Okay. There's been news on the January 6th. Man, I don't know if we have time later, we can talk about that. So, Katie, just send me a private message if you're able to do this. And this is my fault. I thought about this, but I forgot to mention it to you. So I'm thinking about showing the two videos Sorry, I'm having a conversation with Katie here, producer stuff in real time. So I thought this was interesting because I videotaped when I was in Washington on January 6th, so a fake bottle of blood on the ground. Okay, and it was
Yeah.
just like, okay, what is that? Well, I saw a video that was on band.video. We might be able to play just the beginning of that because that's where the guy talks about he saw somebody applying fake blood, or somebody had fake blood applied to their head. So we'll talk about that later. Give me just a message if you're able to get that, then we'll bring it back up because I think that's relevant, obviously. The Before we move on, the submarine. There's a big story about a missing submarine, and it got a lot of attention. And it came up missing. They think that the thing imploded because probably it went down too deep and it wasn't engineered to go down that deep. And everybody thinks that it is a distraction. Could be. I don't know. But I kind of get tired of everything as a distraction. So because some stories are real, not everything, Vic, is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been on both sides of that coin. You know what I mean? I mean, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts about everything as a distraction?
Yeah, I don't think everything is. I mean, I tend to look at more like wars going on in the world right now might be a distraction because everyone's focused on that, and then they're not looking at the things that are going on financially between those countries and the world banks that are being set up in some of those countries, et cetera, et cetera. So I think big things like that, like I think Watergate was a distraction. And I think the sinking of the Titanic was a distraction, but I don't necessarily think everything in the news is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting to me though that we are getting predictive programming on this one. I don't know what we're supposed to be getting out of this. But like I was telling you on the phone last night, like The Simpsons had a whole thing where Homer went down in the submarine.
Here we go again, right?
So it's like, okay, so I don't know if it's a distraction, but it definitely was something they want us to pay attention to. They want us to glean something out of it because, the powers that be sent the little memo over to the producers of that show and made sure they got that in.
Right.
So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me sometimes why, when you look at the things that go on in the world, the millions of things that happen across the globe on a daily basis that would be newsworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder why some of them get airplay at all, and then why some of them dominate the airwaves for like years and years and years and years. So, for example, look at all of the children who have been abducted and murdered in the last 20 years. And the intricacies of all of those stories and the details that could be brought out on those cases and the awareness that could be brought out. But then you get something like the John Benet Ramsey case. Why did that one get 20 years worth of media? Why are we still why that one and not one of the millions of other ones? Like, who is making these choices? And
so I think some things happen organically, and I think some things happen as propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the things that happen naturally, they can kind of twist that into a narrative, right? Like, and we see this all the time. Like there are a lot of newsworthy things that get no attention because they don't know how to manipulate the story. It doesn't look good for the message that they want to present. Okay.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So hey, before we get into the main topic, Katie did say she had that video. So I want to play a video that I shot when I was in DC first. Okay. And this is in our archives, and you can find our archives at throughtheblack.com. You can go to the resource page, I think, and you can click and you can see all of our thousands of hours of videos. So when I was in Washington, D.C., I was walking through the streets with the camera, and I looked down, and there's a Gatorade bottle, and it was obviously had fake blood in it. Okay, it was real syrupy looking, okay, and it was just really kind of dramatic looking. Okay, it was like Okay, so here we go. This is the video I shot, and you can see people are kicking this, right? And that's fake blood. It's all over the ground. There's the bottle, okay? And then I came back, and this is in slow motion. I was like, I'm going to just make sure I document that I saw a bottle of fake blood on the ground. So there it is again. There's the blood. There's the bottle of Gatorade. That lady just kicked it. And yeah, right there. So I was like, okay, documented that, whatever that is. I don't know why somebody would have fake blood. I mean, we could come up with some ideas, right, of why they would have fake blood. But so this makes sense. Okay. So check out this story. I saw this, and I don't even remember. This has been a few weeks ago, but I don't even know who's doing the interview or who's being interviewed. I just remember I bookmarked this, and I'm assuming this was on it was on band.video. So and I don't know if I'm not sure if Katie has this video or not. So yeah, she does. Okay, so listen to this. Okay. Oh, this is Steve Bannon. Okay. Is this what this is? Okay, go ahead.
Put out there. And if you're a sentient human being and just watching it, you say, well, God, Alex Jones was ahead of this. Not only that, he kind of explained it. You are one of the great thinkers of this. That is very rare. You got to go back almost to the revolutionary generation and see that. In this new book, I got to...
Blower leaks Bureau's domestic terrorism symbols guide on militia violent extremists, citing Ashley Babbitt. Leaked FBI list reveals Gadsden flag, Second Amendment, Revolutionary War imagery as domestic terrorism symbols. I remember just going back, I wasn't watching Alex Jones at the time, but when I would watch older Alex Jones shows from post 9/11 in the coming weeks and then past the Patriot Act, he always said this is going to be used against the American people. It's going to be used to demonize American symbolism. Just totally proven. Now,
I'm not sure, Katie, I'm not sure if this is the spot. I think if you go back to the very beginning of that video, if that's the link that was on, that was under general right next to the other link in Discord. If you play the beginning of that video, then it shows a little excerpt talking about the guy saw somebody that had a bandage on his head and it was fake blood. So I'm not sure if you can get that or not. But anyway, if you can, I'll explain it. Here we go. Yeah. Crisis actors. Listen to this. So hold on a second. No volume. That was a guy there that was at January 6th, the same day. And he saw someone that had a head wound or something. And he had a bandage. He had gauze all around it. And he said it looked fake. And he even touched that guy's head, and he looked at it, and he's like, this is fake blood. And he held it up and showed everybody, this is fake blood. But in this guy that had this head bandage and had fake blood on his head, he was an instigator. Okay. He was telling people, come on, we got to take this place and we got to break in here or whatever. And it makes sense, Vic, that he would have a fake head wound, okay, and put fake blood on and say, hey, I'm a victim, follow me. I've been hurt. Look what they're doing to us, okay? Now, on behalf of me, okay, who's been hurt, let's go into this building here, okay, and, create this situation. So anyway, and I don't know if she was able to get the video to work, but yeah, there's the link. We got the link there. You guys can watch the whole thing. But I came across that almost by accident, that guy being interviewed, and I'm like, okay, here is the rest of the story, why they had fake blood. So Vic, when I was up there, and you couldn't get anywhere near this place, but I remember seeing somebody whose pant leg was soaked with blood. And what really caught my attention about that person is they didn't look like they were in any pain at all, but there was a lot of blood loss. And I'm like, why is this person not laying on the ground, rolling around, holding their leg? But they were just kind of way off to the side, okay? and it was real, I don't know, it was real gross. And I was like, what happened to that person that their pant leg was soaked with blood? It was really weird. Okay, and maybe it was real blood, I don't know, but that sticks out to me. And my thought is that it wasn't real blood, and that it was fake blood, because they didn't have even an expression of pain or discomfort on their face at all. And I'm like, wow, that dude's tough. So yeah, anyway,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, the rest of the story. So but Vic, we have been covering this for a while on Through the Black, and that is the ongoing AI development. Okay, we are living in a time that's different than any other time in human history. When we cross-reference the Bible with the newspaper and technology and science, papers, it's all making sense. Okay. Very interesting information here. Can you kind of introduce this, what we're going to be talking about here, the AI and the connection to fortune telling, so to speak, or the AI Jesus that you can talk to, and the AI Bible. So
yeah. So, this is early on in these conversations, and we're trying to get our head wrapped around it. At this point in time, I'm going to just say that I don't think that every single manifestation of AI or every use is evil or demonic. If they're going to be using AI technology during surgeries to help diagnose, blood oxygen levels or whatever to save more patients, like obviously there's going to be uses of AI that don't serve divination purposes, but in the realms of spirituality and entertainment, I think that the AI is going to start delving into aspects of divination where it's going to be communication with some type of sentience. I think that there's going to be something in addition to just algorithms in play. So don't hear me saying that every single robotic arm out there that's like, helping screw things into the dashboard of your car in some factory is a demon. But especially in the realms of entertainment, social media, and spirituality, I think that they are going to start experimenting with, if they have not already blatantly done it, using these bots and apps, etc., as vessels. Now, we already know biblically that demons and false gods can manifest inside of a created vessel. They made idols out of wood and stone, and we even know from the Ark of the Covenant, it was a created vessel that actually housed a bit of the glory of God in it. So we know that it is possible for spiritual beings and entities to house a portion of their glory or their sentience in something man-made. So I don't think it's a real stretch to say that we can now house them in our technology instead of a box or a piece of stone. So with that said, they are starting to now market AI apps and chat boxes for entertainment purposes or for spirituality purposes, but they are starting now to cross the line and encroach upon our spirituality. Christianity, followers in Jesus Christ, we have not asked for an AI enhancement of our belief system. We believe that we have a straight shot straight to the throne room. We can pray, we can connect with the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God can connect with us. We don't need technological enhancement to communicate with our God. It's already in place, and it's worked, and it's been proven to work for thousands and thousands of years. So we don't need props and talismans and technology to communicate back and forth with God. We understand from Scripture and through the Holy Spirit what God is communicating to us, and we're allowed to speak freely to Him. We can boldly approach the throne of grace. But they are developing tech out there now where we can communicate with Jesus, which is, it's bizarre to me, Tom. We already can do that. Like, we already can do that. So, Katie, I sent a few screenshots of just some social media posts that have come across my feed in the last few days. So this is all hot off the press stuff. Technology that lets us speak to our dead relatives has arrived. Are we ready? AI company says it'll perform a seance on your dead loved ones.
We're trying to make it. We're trying to make it sound as magical and mystical as possible. Interesting.
Yep. AI's new frontier, connecting grieving loved ones with the deceased.
Let's go back to that last one because, okay, AI company says it'll perform a seance on your dead loved ones. I don't know. Okay, I'm just looking at a headline. I wonder if basically what they're going to do is they're going to go and analyze. They could be analyzing data of your dead loved one, who they were, where they lived, what they liked, any information that's out there, and then they can pose as this person, right?
Yep.
And it's really just AI computer assimilation that's posing. Like, for example, me. When I die, it would be easy because there's a lot of me out there, right?
Yep.
On the interwebs and on social media or whatever, and they could probably very convincingly have a conversation. It would look like you're having a conversation with Tom Dunn, okay?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just a good study of who Tom Dunn was.
Exactly. So to strip the mysticism from this for a moment, they could easily do this. If you took all of the cell phone records of my dead mom and all of my cell phone records, which they can access like that, my mom and I had, 5-10 years of text messaging and emails back and forth to each other on that phone. With an algorithm, they could easily figure out every single thing my mom and I were interested in, the stuff we like to do together, the stuff we talked about. It would be super easy with nothing demonic involved for them to send me a text message from my mom's number that sounded exactly like something that she would say. No problem. So the danger in this kind of thing isn't necessarily that if you do it, you're talking to a familiar spirit or a dead relative. It's that once you open that door and you pique your interest, like once you determine that the way I'm going to grieve, the way I'm going to get over my grief is to perpetuate a relationship with the dead person, you are now basically telling the spirit realm that you have no theological or ethical problem with communicating with the dead, which the Bible strictly prohibits. So the real question here isn't whether or not it's algorithms or an actual familiar spirit you're speaking to. The real problem lies in the user, because anyone who does not have any ethical or spiritual or theological issues with communicating with their dead relative is already in rebellion, because the scripture is very clear about sorcery and divination. And it also tells us in scripture that the spirit of rebellion is as that of witchcraft. And so you are practicing in practicing this divination, whether you're talking to a computer algorithm or an actual entity is no longer really the issue. The issue is you've crossed a line ethically that you are willing to participate in something that the Bible prohibits. And that can open a door. And the door might not be that little app you're using, but it might open the door to something more serious down the line, where you become more and more determined to speak to this dead relative. And, in the spirit of, if you build it, they will come. If you summon a dead relative, your dead relative might not be the one that comes, but someone will answer that summoning eventually.
So, Vic, remember the movie Room 237? I think that's the name of the movie. It was with John Cusack.
I don't know if I saw it, but I'm familiar with it and I know what it's about.
Okay, so this is about a father who lost his little girl, and he's so heartbroken that he is willing to do anything to connect with her. So he goes to this infamous hotel room where all this supernatural stuff has happened.
Mm.
And he's like, I don't care. I'm not afraid. I want to contact my little girl. Okay, so he basically puts his head in a noose, so to speak, spiritually speaking. And he's just so heartbroken, to talk to his little girl. Can you imagine how they can use that vulnerability in people to get them to engage with AI?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they can make it very realistic.
Oh yeah. It's diabolical. I have said it a million times. These entities pick on the most vulnerable. So usually it's children, it's elderly, people in grief.
Vic, this is creeping me out right now because I'm thinking about this, applying it to my life. Okay.
Mm.
Like, how does it apply to my life? My dad's been gone for 16, 17 years. And I think about, I have dreams about my dad still,
Mm-hmm.
And I think about, man, how many things have happened in my life. And it's just like, Dad, you miss so much. You think those things, right? I'm not talking to my dad. My dad's dead. He can't hear me. But what the people that utilize this technology, they're going to make millions, billions of dollars.
Yeah. Yep. And if the algorithms are as accurate as I know they can be, and you convince a whole bunch of, let's not even talk about non-Christians right now. Let's talk about born again Christians who sit in a church every Sunday. They love Jesus, but they're not really biblically proficient. You put them in an extremely vulnerable position, like they lose a child in a car accident, or you lose a spouse of 50 years or something like that. And if you've never been through grief, you do sort of lose your mind. If you want to know what insanity feels like, fall in love or lose your best friend, because you literally, your mind is just different. And I've been through this. And even the poetry that I wrote during that time, it was like a different person was even writing the poetry because my brain was completely firing differently than it had ever fired before. And there was even aspects of the grief process where I was intellectually open to and understanding things I wasn't as closed-minded as before. I got red pilled after my mom died because I was all of a sudden open to things that the Holy Spirit was telling me that I wouldn't have listened to when everything was great. And so you're in an extremely vulnerable space when you're in grief. If you don't have solid biblical foundations and you go to one of these little apps and you're just doing it like the old kids with the 8-ball, like, does Billy like me? Does Billy think I'm cute? If it's just something that you know isn't real, but it's making you feel good.
Vic, the emotional high that you would get.
Yes.
Even knowing that it's not real.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And here, Katie's pulled up the story. Could you, I'm telling you right now, I'm a strong Christian. I love the Lord, but I could have vulnerabilities in my life where that would be tempting. But
Yes.
what if it was somebody else in my family that did it? And then they tried to get me to, to do it.
Yeah.
And as accessible as the technology could be, this is what Ray Kurzweil talked about. Okay. And I saw him years ago back in New York. He was one of the main speakers at the 2045 conference up there. And this man is doing everything he can to collect as much information on his dad that he can to bring his dad back to life. Ooh. And he says that there's going to come a point when when nanobots are going to drill into his father's grave and coffin and get his DNA and bring him back to life. Okay, a synthetic version of him, and he's collecting. He has a warehouse, like, or he has, tucked away somewhere, all this information on his dad. So all of the computers can read this and recreate his dad. And he thinks he's going to bring his dad back to life. He's taking care of his health, okay, so he can stay alive as long as possible. They're waiting for the singularity. Anyway, sorry to interrupt like that, but this idea, I'm really shaken by it. And this kind of caught me off guard today, thinking about this. I think that there's going to be a lot of really well-meaning people that are going to fall for this. I could see all kinds of church people. It's just like Christians falling for yoga, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we had all this technology, I think a lot of people, when they lose someone, they do have really explicit dreams of those people. And depending on your doctrine, a lot of people think it's the actual person communicating to them that everything's okay and I'm doing great. But what was really fascinating to me is after my mom died, I had dreams about her on a near nightly basis. And she still shows up in my dreams quite a bit as well. But right after she died, she would come into me in my dreams. But Tom, it would always turn sinister. Like she would come, she would never say anything. She would always just be looking at me. And I'd be so excited to see her or whatever. And Tom, it was like a horror movie. She would come right up to me, and then her eyes would roll back in the back of her head, and her mouth would like drape open, and she would go like corpse-like. And I'd wake up all freaked out. And so there was something like sinister to it, right? And so in looking back at it now, I think it was as simple as this. The entities, demons, whatever, knew I was in the most vulnerable space of my entire life. I just lost my best friend, and they were just tormenting me with it, right? But a lot of people who don't have that experience, they just have all of these dreams after a loved one dies. They believe it's the actual loved one coming to communicate with them, which biblically, why would God allow? We're not supposed to communicate with the dead. And I can hear people saying, well, we're not supposed to communicate with them. But that doesn't mean that they can't communicate with us. And like, there's all these little caveats where people say, well, it's okay because they're coming to me. And then
they're going to justify this. And
Yeah.
they're going to say there's nothing wrong with it because everybody knows it's not real.
Yeah. Yeah. And at what point, after it's just algorithms and technology, at what point when it becomes sentient, because it's so realistic when it's fake, at what point will we know if it's made a transition?
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't even talked about the Apple glasses yet. The new Apple goggles. Have you seen those?
I have. Yep. The VR, like
Yeah.
almost $4,000. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I don't know. This kind of caught me off guard in a way that's just like, I see how tempting this could be. And I could see how it's going to be marketed as harmless. Maybe it will be. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how it would mess people up big time, because death is a process, right? When we leave this earth, we're never supposed to come back in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. We, as Christians, we believe in the afterlife. Okay. And absent from the body, present with the Lord. Obviously that's not me. Okay. Once I'm gone, my sweet grandma, who I was super close to, she's gone. She's never coming back to this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And Christianity has the answer to the worst thing that can happen, Vic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Losing your mother. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. Right. Mm-hmm. We have the answer to the worst thing that can happen, on this earth, and that's death, right?
Yeah.
There's no way to overcome that except through we actually don't die. This shell dies, okay?
Yeah.
And we live on. So I see, even more angles to where they're making Christianity obsolete. Like, why do you need that? You don't need that. You have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These people, you don't have to wait to heaven till you get to heaven to see these people. You can see them now.
Yeah. Another angle on this, Tom, because we're thinking about the people who are reaching out to dead relatives because they are heartbroken and they miss them. But an even worse scenario is people who've lost a loved one and there was no closure. And there's guilt, there's regret, there was things undone, unsaid, unspoken. It was a unhealed relationship from a divorce. It was a father who abused them. And this is even more potential of abuse because they're even more vulnerable. And I know that I've noticed a lot of times that grief tends to be worse for people if there were things left unsaid or if the relationship was never repaired and things like that. And so now you've got also people who are not just wanting to hear a friendly voice again, but they're looking for some sort of fix. They're trying to do what they weren't able to do. So if now you're not dealing with the real person, you're just dealing with algorithms, or you're dealing with something potentially sinister that just likes to torment people, what a hole you could dig yourself into. What if you go to this mother that never loved you and all the algorithms just pick up all of the text messages, and what if the message from beyond is, I still hate you, I don't forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this irreparable thing hanging over you that even in eternity, this person is holding this grudge against you. I mean, the potential for the unbiblical theology you're going to pick up on when you're talking to technology, algorithms, or potentially demonic entities that are not going to be speaking accurately on behalf of another human being. The potential for people falling into biblical error, falling into doctrinal error, falling into the New Age, falling into the occult, falling into deeper depression and despair because they're not able to resolve what didn't get resolved on earth, even after they have that lifeline. I just see so much potential for Christians, especially, falling into massive amounts of doctrinal error that are going to put them so far down the New Age or the occult rabbit hole that they're not going to be able to see air.
Think about when they merge these fields, the AI meeting your dead relative, your mom, your dad, your kid, and they merge that with the dark spirituality. Then they merge it with the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep.
Okay. Because, well,
Yep.
if you take the right kind of drugs and you're having an AI experience, then it's real. It's real. I just wrote down here, faith becomes sight. Okay. And Vic,
yeah.
If we're not careful, this trumps our faith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a brilliant point. That's such a brilliant point. And Katie, I think there was one more screenshot. This is something a little bit different. This is the one where the AI is actually like a chat box where you're chatting with Jesus. So instead of your dead relatives, you're actually supposedly talking to the man himself, right? So, yeah, AI's new frontier, connecting grief loved ones. Okay, the deceased. Is there one about Jesus where they're talking to Jesus, Katie? I'm going to just check in my... it might be one that I didn't send. AI Jesus gives life advice, answers questions on 24/7 online stream.
Wow.
Maybe
So if you're talking to a dead loved one, I mean, that's going to be the thing. They're going to bring, right, Jesus back to life like he needs to be resurrected. He already was resurrected.
Yep. Absolutely.
But
I just sent it
the
to
idea
Discord.
that we not only Jesus, but that we could talk to Paul or Peter or Noah.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Why stop there? Yeah, this one, if you just break it down, I guess it's because humans want to be like they want it in their hand. But it's like we already have a 24/7 online stream to Jesus.
Yes.
Like we've already got it. Now, granted, he's not sending us text messages, but I don't know. Oh gosh, it's out of control. It's out of control.
And then, of course, the other part is, well, let's go here first so we can pay off the thumbnail. Synthetic soothsayers. Vic, this all ties in together, right? Going to see a fortune teller, right? The spirituality of it. Okay, we consider that dark spirituality. But when you're talking about going, either having your tarot cards read or, fortune telling or whatever, it's at best about 25% accurate. Okay.
Right.
I
right,
could
right.
be more accurate, just guessing multiple choice, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But going to have your future read by an AI robot could be accurate up into almost 100%, maybe, because they can know a lot more, obviously, about you because your information is out there, right? Now, the demonic entities, obviously, that are watching us, that are coming after us, that are attacking us, they're very familiar with us, and we believe the devil is in the details. But there is a breakdown in communication between the spirit guide, okay, or the the human, and the messages that are being received. So this is hard, message, not somebody sitting in a dark room, looking at the palm of your hand or a crystal ball. This is using real life, you know what I'm saying, experience or real life data to say, hey, they already have predictive algorithms where
Yep.
they know what you're going to do. They know where you're going to go. I think about that all the time, because, okay, the algorithms know, hey, I'm going to the gym today, or, hey,
Yep.
I'm going to do this, or this is what I do on, the third Wednesday of the month, or who knows?
Right. Right. So I just had an aha moment as you were saying that. Quantum computing is so advanced now. It can do so many more like calculations in seconds. As of 2019, the quantum computers could predict the future down to 16 potential options. So if you told this quantum computer, ask them a question about your family, like, okay, is my son going to get married? They could take every single possibility in the entire world as to who, what, when, where, why of that detail of that question. And they could spit out 16 potential responses and so they have a 1 in 16th chance of accurately predicting the answer to that question. Now that was 2019. And we know that we're progressing towards eventually they will get these quantum computers to predict it down to the truth. Like there won't be 15 other options. They'll have it down. So if now we have apps where we're going in and we're like shaking an 8-ball that's on our screen and giggling and whatever, if that's hooked up to a quantum computer, they will eventually be able to predict with accuracy the outcome of those questions. And it will be a greater accuracy than the woman in the strip mall with the tarot card deck.
Almost with no error.
Yeah.
I speculate.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about all this stuff, and especially the talking to the dead AI relatives, Vic, the church, the mainline church, and many churches that would consider themselves spiritually, on target and awake,
Mhm.
they're going to fall for this. They're going to,
Oh, yeah.
and especially the mainline church is going to roll out the red carpet for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. There was a documentary on Amazon. It was like an Amazon release, maybe somewhere in the space of 4 years ago. I cannot remember the title of the documentary, but it was parents all kind of sitting on the couches together or being interviewed, where they were communicating with their dead children, and they were talking about how wonderful and therapeutic this was. And I'm pretty sure I watched it at the time, and it was so sad because here's the terrible thing about grief. It's horrible, and it can last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and vestiges of it can last even longer. But the thing that I think is really misunderstood about grief is it's not the same as depression. It's not a mental illness. It is a designed by God process of healing. When you go through grief, even though it is extremely painful, it is a God-given lifeline of healing. And when you continue to speak to your dead loved one and you perpetuate that relationship, but it's not the same as it was before, you might be easing certain aspects of the grief, but on another plane, you're perpetuating that grief because you're not allowing yourself to go through the entire healing cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really doing a lot of spiritual, emotional, and psychological damage to yourself, even more so if you're doing it and everyone else in the family isn't. So they're going on with their normal grief process and you're the one stuck there. So there was
Big,
also,
just like somebody addicted to drugs.
yeah,
The drug is a painkiller.
yeah, exactly. Yep. And this is creeping into the church, Tom. I remember about 4 years ago when a friend of mine lost her son. 6 months to a year later, a friend of hers also lost her son. And she recommended a book to my friend. And this was a church-going, self-professing believer. Recommended a book to my friend that was instructing you how to communicate with your dead loved one. And this woman was doing it. She had done all the little things. Now, the book was not a Christian book, but the Christian woman was following what was supposed to be happening. She was following the instructions of the book. And she called my friend all excited because the next day, the little funeral urn or something of her son had moved off the bookshelf to her nightstand or something like this. I'm not getting it exactly right, but it was a sign that her dead son had heard her and was now communicating with her. But what scared me about that whole story is that this was someone who had attended church her whole life and was a professing believer, but when she got into a place of vulnerability, the emotions and the grief took precedent over the knowledge and the doctrine. She was in a vulnerable place. And so Christians are falling into this. And what's sad is after you get a few freebies, it's kind of like, in the back alley, they give you your first hit free because they know you're going to be a lifelong customer after that. And the spirit realm does the same thing. They give you a free few hits and you get the dopamine and you see the dead loved one again and they're smiling at you and there's this joy, and eventually that stuff goes away and it's replaced usually with paranormal activity in the home. It's usually replaced with like slamming doors and furniture moving around and demons at the end of your bed. So it's very tempting because those first.
Vic, yeah, we lost your audio for whatever reason. Can you hear me, Vic? We lost your audio. I don't know what happened. So
Okay.
Imagine going into that virtual reality of talking to a dead loved one and then coming out of that and the extreme depression that you would have. So you want to hit that drug again.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about people becoming literally addicted to the matrix, right? Getting plugged in.
Yep.
To the matrix.
Yep. And you know what, Tom? I saw this YouTube video years ago again. It was a virtual reality thing. And it was a mother who had lost a young child. And she put on virtual reality glasses, and her dead child was there, and she was interacting with it. And she's crying. And so again, at what point, whether it's grief or something else, it doesn't even just have to be a dead loved one. At what point, when this technology gets so sophisticated, are people going to unplug from reality and live in this virtual world of their own making permanently? At what point does Avatar become reality? Where it's like, in my fake world, I'm beautiful and skinny and attractive, and I can, I don't have to worry about this and that. And I just feel like we're all at some point going to be relegated to comas, but you're going to put glasses on us and we're going to think everything's great. And we're literally going to we're going to sacrifice the life that God gave us to just sit in some dental chair, all strung out on something, living this fake life.
Vic, when I have dreams about my dad, and it's not super often, but it's once in a while, they're all very similar. And my dad was like a workaholic his whole life, just always working. So it's always a scenario where he's working, we're finishing up a job, and we're going to head to the house, but we never make it to the house. And I can never get to his house to spend time with him. And I might be on the phone like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be over there. I want to talk to you. And then there's this guilt, like, in confusion, like, I thought you were gone, but you're not, because you're in that dream state and you don't understand reality at the moment. Yes. And I will wake up from those dreams feeling good. Like, man, I got to see my dad, So imagine, again, I'm just kind of caught off guard here by this conversation. Imagine the temptation to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. And people don't understand the dark spiritual connections behind it. Okay. Because if you bring in the drugs, okay, which, okay, obviously we know when we're talking about, things like sensory deprivation, people are drugged, people are, MK Ultra and all of these things. Okay. This is another level. Okay. This is another level of reality. You bring in those drugs, and then maybe the demonic, the spiritual side is just waiting, like you said, a few freebies. And then it becomes this even spiritual connection. And emotionally, how would you be able to convince somebody that this is not healthy, that you shouldn't be doing this, and to stop doing it?
Yeah.
I feel like it would be almost impossible.
Absolutely. And it's not going to have just that one application. Take it out of the realm of a dead loved one who you knew and loved and you just miss. Yeah. Take it into the realm of entertainment. Take it into the realm of pornography.
Sexuality. I was just going to say that.
Yep.
What about somebody who's single? Somebody who wants intimacy? I mean, this is what the need that pornography fills now, okay? Mm-hmm. Whether it's pornography or whether it's prostitution, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or something like that. Somebody seeking intimacy.
Yep.
And somebody very, very lonely, there's plenty of people like that. Think of China, okay? Think of the epidemic they have over there of no women. How many men is there to every woman? Okay. Yeah.
Well, and if you bring this too into the realm of the necromancy, like we were talking about, hey, now I don't have to choose from the 3 or 4 guys in my single group at church who are, losing their hair and have a pot belly and have, too much acne on their face. I can now go to this virtual world. I can pick whatever gorgeous specimen I want. I can pick whatever dead celebrities out there. I can.
It's already happening, Vicky.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And so think Once you're in the real world, then, if this is what you're accustomed to, no real man or woman is ever going to appeal to you because they're going to be aging. They're going to be gaining weight. They're going to be saying snarky things that hurt your feelings. We will lose our ability, even more than we already have through social media, to ever want to connect with another human being, because they're not going to live up to these perfect, gorgeous Elvis Presley at 25 years old who never ages, and we're destroying ourselves.
Vic, the stage is set for this right here, because you have men in their 20s that are lonely like never before. Okay, you have the women who are picking from a small percentage of men. Okay, and that, you know, women obviously they're dating up, all right, and there's a larger percentage of men that don't get picked because they are what would be considered a 5 and under, right? And even what would be considered an equally matched girl is not going to pick somebody on her own level. Okay, and I don't have time to go into all the details on this. One thing you could check out is the podcast or the YouTube show, whatever. They talk about this a lot. Okay, I think they've done a great job in exposing this, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting study. You know what I'm talking about, though, Vic?
I've seen that. Yeah. It's fascinating. Is that the one where they've got like 10 girls and 10 guys, and they have to
Yeah. They have a panel of girls. Usually many of them are working for like some kind of a porn OnlyFans type thing.
Okay.
And they're twisted, they're liberal, they're from California. So they got all these whack beliefs. And then they usually have maybe about 2 guys.
Oh,
that,
yes.
You know, some of them are Christians.
Yes.
Sometimes they have women on that are Christians that kind of debate back and forth.
I have seen that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have seen those. Those are incredible.
Yeah.
Very, very telling to where we are in society. And I don't know how are we ever going to get back on track to a biblical concept of family and sex and relationship. How will we ever get back on track?
But to start with an EMP, I think.
I think maybe so.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So, folks, we've told you what we think. We want to know what you think. We told you what we... Did I say that right? We told you what you think. Now we want to know what we think. I don't know if I said... Anyway, guys, yeah, please leave a comment. Leave a link or whatever. We're interested. Continue the conversation. What have we not thought of? Okay? Leave a comment below and let us know. We pretty much try to read all the comments, and we appreciate the feedback. The email, somebody asked what our email is. Katie put the email up earlier, through the black.connect@outlook.com. If you want to send us an email, yeah, there you go. So, folks, yeah, we're kind of in the middle of a break, but Vic and I want to get back on here and stay connected with you guys and let you know, hey, we're not going away. We're just kind of in a time right now where dealing with family stuff, and I've got lots of personal things going on in my family. Nothing bad, but just kind of changes and things like that, and weird things happening. And I need to focus on some family stuff and be prepared, for some things in the next few months. But we're working and we're planning on coming back on a regular basis. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know. It may not be as frequent as what we did in the past, but we believe that we kind of do things in a different way, and we appreciate you guys that notice that. We just want to tell people about Jesus. We want to expose some of these crazy things that are going out there. And Vic, today, I think we started a conversation that's going to be ongoing. Okay. So, anyway, we believe that there is freedom, deliverance, healing in this life. We believe you can have hope, peace, joy in this life. Okay. And then we believe that if you put your faith on Jesus, if you repent of your sins, you ask for forgiveness, and you turn away from them, that you can be saved and that you can be in heaven. And it's not going to be some fake synthetic heaven on earth, but the real thing that'll be better. That'll be better than anything that AI could ever conjure up, right, Vic? Have you ever seen the testimony of people that have had near-death experiences? They just become emotional trying to describe the colors. And it's a happy cry, and they just become so emotional because they can't explain what they've seen. And you know what? I believe they've seen something, in the extra dimension when that happens. I don't know how it all works or why God allows it to happen, but I think it's evidence, and the testimonies are fascinating. Guys, what is the verse? What's the verse, Vic? Help me out. No eye has seen.
No ear has heard.
Yeah.
No mind has ever imagined what God has prepared for them.
Yes. In the next life. So we used to sing songs about going to heaven and making it to Zion and all that stuff. I believe in it, and I believe Jesus Christ is King. I believe he's the only answer, and I believe we're going to have to cling to him tighter than ever in these days, weeks, months, and years ahead, and read our Bibles like never before and get that truth in us so we can fight this onslaught of synthetic reality that's coming aggressively toward us. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back. We don't know when. Stay tuned. Throughtheblack.com is where you can find our archives and all that stuff. We love you and we appreciate you so much, and we will see you next time.